Right, welcome back to the Midnight Podcast and what I think is episode 5 now, and I'm already finding it fairly fucking difficult to keep these consistent on a weekly basis, even though we're 5 episodes in, but we've got a lot of bangers lined up. And I guess this one was fairly last minute. We've got Adrian, who I'll let him introduce himself in a minute, but probably similar intro to that I've done on all the previous podcasts. Like, I haven't seen you for maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
But I never knew 100% what you actually did. Like, I knew you were in the agency space, etc., etc. Lived out in Dubai. But like I was saying before, I feel like these podcasts are really just an excuse for me to fucking speak to people that I think are doing interesting things and just let them teach me shit for free. And then hopefully go off on a tangent and just get into some interesting stuff. But yeah, episode 5. How do I say your second name?
I did. The A silent, so I did get bullied quite a bit in school.
So Adrian,
Aidid.
Oh shit!
So
okay,
like,
right. Because I've always been saying like Aidid.
Yeah, and then people would make fun of me like Adrian, I didn't, and haha. If you've married a Pakistani woman, you have a kid called Azif, it'd be like Azif I did, and it's like
yeah, fuck, that's funny. Okay, so Adrian Aidid. Right, cool. Yeah, basically just I'll give you the stage. Tell us your background, what you do, how you got there, and we'll just dive into conversation.
Sweet. So, hi guys, my name's Adrian. I run a performance marketing agency called LDX Digital, and we focus on helping brands in the health space online. So a lot of our clients are in the health, fitness, and wellness space, as well as medical is a big one for us. So I have clients like Mike Thurston, Kryptonary, amongst a few others, and mainly focus is on Google Ads. 80% of our clientele, it's AdWords and shopping, but also we do Facebook and the other channels, and SEO is a big focus for us. So, and recently we've been doing analytics. We've just been trying to control the full circle and doing CRO and pricing experiments, the whole shit. So yeah.
Interesting. So you're a camera looker, I've noticed, because when I'm doing this, I do not look at the camera at all.
I'm an attention seeker.
Yeah, so first pod in 3 years. Shit, I did not know. So Thurston's a client.
Mike Thurston's a client, yeah.
And how did you meet him out in Dubai?
I met him out in Dubai. Actually, it was Christmas Day. And I wanted to, I mean, a year and a half ago, I was like watching his YouTube videos. I thought this guy's pretty cool. He actually made a video about how he moved out to Dubai. And, I bumped into him and I had a chat with him about ads and what we do. And it was kind of 50-50. And then, I used my salesmanship or whatever it is, and we met back again. Now he's working with us, producing some awesome results, and it's great to have a client like Mike, because the guy's got such a strong brand, and like how he is like in like the gym, like you understand, like hanging out with him, you understand why he's got that freaking body. Yes, he has amazing genetics, but the guy is like so fucking damn disciplined, detailed, and he's actually like a nice genuine guy as well. How he is on camera, you meet some influencers and like they're nowhere near what they are like, and like they've got like this online persona, and then like when you meet them in real life, they're like twats. But this guy,
that's kind of what we're speaking about in episode 3 with Adam. And you make that assumption about a lot of people, probably from the outside.
Yeah, and this guy, like I was semi-expecting the same thing, but how he is on YouTube, he's exactly the same as how he is in real life.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good lad. And,
haven't been paid to say that.
I haven't been paid to say that, yeah. So, yeah, I should be working on his ads, actually, not on the podcast. So Facebook went down.
Yeah, shit. Facebook has gone down right now as of recording this. It went down like 2.5, 3 hours ago. Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, and fucking everything. And even just communicating for you to get here. We had to work out SMS. And yeah, it's chaos. Just to go back then a little bit, because I suppose, I told you just like free flow, but I want to hear more about, obviously you said the last interview you did was with Iman.
Yeah.
I don't know Iman that well, but like friends of friends, etc. And obviously he's
smashing.
Fred kind of went to one of his events. We're actually saying like 3 years ago, and it's I think around the same sort of time that you did that video.
Yeah.
Is that when you got into agency then? Like, just go back to pre-agency. What were you doing, and where did that come from?
Pre-agency, I'm a little bit older actually. I'm approaching my late 20s. So I, first of all, I'm born and raised in Bristol, and I went into sales at a pretty young age. So I did a year of uni, dropped out, and then for me, I come from like quite a poor background. So my mum's a refugee. I lived in a council house in Bristol. And for me, the corporate route was where I thought success was going to be, right? So, I got into sales quite young, did quite well, corporate sales, tech sales, event sales. And then, I became one of the top sellers. And they moved me to, my always dream when I was younger was to go to New York. Mm-hmm. So at 22, 23, I was in New York. I got an option. So I was doing really well. I became a manager at a young age. Thought I was like smashing life. And I was like, what is the next step? And obviously living in Bristol at the time, I had like an apartment, like I had like, even though it was like a studio, but like, I had an apartment, I had like, I thought I was like big balls. And then I was like watching football every weekend, beautiful girlfriend and like, great friends that I grew up with. We'd go out all the time, but I just felt fucking empty, man. I was like, is this it? Like, is this my life? I'm going to be earning X amount and then going to get a mortgage and kids. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
And who were you working for, sorry?
I was working for a company called GDS Group.
And what do they do?
They do like event sales as well. So conferences, exhibitions, technology. So they get like, for example, an IBM to sit down with Coca-Cola, put them all in an event space and make them pay money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then I think I remember you speaking about, it was actually in the old flat, B151, which we were just saying, like nearly 2 years ago actually. I think you came round and I was having KFC, which might have been the first time I met you, and you mentioned Wall Street. Yeah. And I was like, has this guy just watched too much fucking Wolf of Wall Street, or is that legit? Because I know nothing about Wall Street culture, Wall Street work. Like, what was that and how was that?
So that was with the same company that I was in the UK. And they had an office on Wall Street. So when the 2008 financial crash happened, they were doing really well. They got an office in 40 Wall Street at the Trump building. And I remember sitting down with my CEO one time as an appraisal meeting, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? You're still pretty young. You're doing good. I said, I want to move to America. I know you got an office on Wall Street in New York. That's all I've wanted to do since I was a kid, right? So it wasn't in the finance space, but was still on Wall Street in a sales role. And he said, okay, no problem. I'll get back to you. So in my head, I was thinking like, maybe like a year or so.
Yeah.
My VP of operations sits me down like 2 weeks later, and he's like, okay, Adrian, you can go to New York on one condition. You got to move next week.
Yeah, fuck.
Like 3-4 weeks. And I was like, shit, I had my apartment, girlfriend. And then I remember being like depressed that day, bro. And I went to the park. There's a park in Bristol called Castle Park, if any of you guys know Bristol. And I just sat down and I read The Alchemist. And then I was like, fuck, like,
classic.
This is my adventure. If I don't fucking do this now, like, to have the opportunity from my socioeconomic background, coming from a refugee family, to move to Wall Street, if I don't do it, like, I'm going to be kicking myself. So I went and did it. And bro, those first couple of months were really hard, coming from Bristol, my bubble, my nestle, my nest, having everything there to, fucking, people were making fun of me. They're like, who's this like dark skinned British kid, like this Harry Potter looking guy? And I'm like, fuck. I had to get thick skin real quick. I was in an apartment, I was staying in a hotel in Financial District. If anybody knows Financial District of New York, it's like not much happening. It's like quite dark and dreary. And bro, I was like, shit, I've got two options. Like, I just need to up my game. Nobody in the office really liked me initially because they're like, oh, he's a spy from like head office and all this crap. We're a British company.
Wearing a mask.
Yeah. So I just, I had to like work, and I saw some people with incredible work rates. You think you're working hard, and then you see people, traveling 2-3 hours a day, smashing it for 11 hours a day on sales, making ridiculous money. And I was like, shit, like, and I upped my game, did well there. And then afterwards, they were like, right, we've got something going on in Miami. Do you want to go there? So, I had a place in New York, I had a place in Miami at 22, 23. I was in between the two, and then I eventually settled in Miami, going out all the time, living a good life. And things were good until the company decided one day, actually it's probably more cost efficient, looking at Brexit and everything, to have him back in the UK. So it was like the super high, and then it was like, you're coming back to England. So coming back to England, and I had a choice. I actually remember, sorry, I'm just banging on.
It's good. We need to get content. You were too short at the start.
Yeah, I remember walking into, going to an influencer party. I was trying to hit on this girl, and I was just going to it for full transparency. Going to an influencer party, and I thought it was Billy Big Balls, earning a lot, in Wall Street. And there's some guys who were entrepreneurs, and they had this fat house, and I was like, shit, never again am I going to let somebody tell me what I can do and where I can live. And I was like embarrassed because I built a life in the States, everything, you settled there. And I was like, shit. And then, so I came back to the UK, instead of like putting that money towards like, you know, they give you relocation money to get like a house and shit. I just put that money, you know, into my business. I moved back in with my mum in the same bedroom I was at when I was 15. There's like so many people like...
When was this, sorry? So like how many years ago? So 2018?
Yeah. So moved back in, same bedroom as my mum, like I was when I was 15. It was just so humbling, and everyone's like, oh, he was like, he thought he made it. Now look at him, he's back at his mum's. Fuck this guy, blah, blah, blah. And for like 6 months, I didn't go out, I didn't club, I didn't party. I like changed my friendship circle. I just had like, I just need to fucking go at this. I bought the course, and then very quickly I did quite well, quit my job. And then, you know, went to Qatar for a bit, came back, came to London, and yeah, now I live in Dubai, and yeah, that was the start.
I feel like that's a very long story that you've cut to quite a short description, but I was going to say, like, first, just going back to the New York thing then. So you obviously decided to leave because that was an opportunity.
Yeah.
What happened to the girlfriend and life at home? Did you just, did that fizzle out? Or like, did you just literally say, fuck this, I'm going?
Well, yeah, I mean,
fresh start.
Obviously my friends initially, like, of course, you know, I've still tried to keep friendly with everybody. And then obviously with my girlfriend, it was hard on her because, you know, she loved me, I loved her, but I just, you know, at that age, I thought I need to take this risk. And, you know, in life, you get what you sacrifice for.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. And yeah, you know, it was tough. It was really fucking hard, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, it's what you need to do sometimes. And, you know, I think if we'd been going out like 3, 4, 5 years, it'd be different.
Yeah.
But it was like less than a year. I was like, this opportunity came up, and you know, it's all I've ever wanted to do at the time is to work on Wall Street. So you know, I just did it. And you know, I maybe could have gone things, I was a bit young, so maybe I could have communicated things better and set a better example. But you know, in life, if you don't take risks, nothing happens, bro.
Yeah, true. Deep. No, it's true. That's the first nugget. So just staying on New York then for a second. I've been to New York once by myself, like 4 years ago. I think I wandered down Wall Street, saw the bull. That's on Wall Street, right?
Yeah. The bull ring.
The bull ring. And then, do you think, like, you mentioned like entrepreneurs at a party and so on. Was that like the first time you'd seen?
Yeah, it's the first
that kind
time
of lifestyle.
I got exposed
people doing that shit
to that wealth.
Yeah,
because I'm from Bristol, remember? So
I've never been to Bristol.
Yeah, like wealthy in Bristol is like if you're earning 65k a year, 70k a year, you're like a baller in Bristol.
Yeah,
like you're like a don. You're popping bottles at the club, like
yeah, legit.
So I got exposed to people, you know, earning crazy amounts. I got exposed to people living ridiculous lifestyles. I got exposed to super smart, driven people, and you know, a city like New York, a city like London, they attract these sort of people, and I think environment's really, 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 really important for me anyway. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are super successful and, you know, they live in like Southampton or something like that. That's not that I'm shitting on it, but that's fine. But I think, you know, for a period of your life, it is good to get out of your comfort zone, you know, get out of your hometown, especially in your 20s. Like, yeah,
I agree. Definitely. I think we touched on this a few times in like previous episodes, but yeah, it's kind of, I feel like it's probably that 60k like popping bottles reference. I feel like that's the same in anywhere in the UK outside London, like as a general stereotype, and probably similar like America, like outside LA, New York, etc. But it's so true. Yeah, I just think getting around, like being exposed to that shit for the first time, because I had a similar experience. I did work experience in a place in Mayfair in M&A, so mergers and acquisitions, when I was 19, when I initially dropped out of uni, ironically studying entrepreneurial business management. This is back in like 2014. I dropped out after like 6 weeks and then managed to blag this placement. Like, I think I got paid like £600 a month, some bollocks. But yeah, and that was the first time I'd seen like entrepreneurship, and I was like, oh wait a minute, you don't have to be a footballer to make money, to make like a lot of money potentially. So I think everyone probably has, there's a time or an experience where you suddenly think, actually, yeah, fuck, maybe I should like do my own thing. And
Yeah.
that sounds like that was yours.
Yeah, and also you need space to become your own person, right?
Yeah.
Like when you live alone, you get to know yourself better, right? When you get out of your comfort zone, you got to grow as a person, and you need that exposure, right? Human beings, whether you like it or not, we are social creatures, right? We will act and imitate, and whether you like it or not, subconsciously, unconsciously, you will act, you will imitate, you will be around the people that you're in. So, you know, when I look at certain friendship groups, like, you know, you guys with Fred and Billy, Tyler, there's a reason, you know, you guys are all good friends and you're all done pretty well, right?
Yeah.
If you look at, I guess, us and Dubai, me, Aziz, Arslan, we all kind of hang out and we're all doing pretty well. So, you know, I'd even go as far to say that, you know, you are a product of your environment. And I think when I was younger, you know, living in a not so nice area, like, you know, where there was a lot of refugees when we were really young, and then moving to a little bit of a nicer area later on, I saw how that effect has, you know what I mean? Like your environment, you are a product of who you hang around with, where you spend your time.
Yeah, stereotype, but it's so fucking true, isn't it?
It's pretty fucking brutal to say, and like and I think in British society we don't, you know, we don't like confrontation. Whereas when I went to America, and we go to New York, fuck me, like everyone's just in your face, like, what do you want? How much does it cost?
Yeah, different culture, innit? You've even got a bit of the American accent was coming through a few times there.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So coming back to the agency then, because I feel like that's probably why a lot of people will want to watch this. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I feel like agency, I know a lot of people that run agencies, I feel like it was the slightly more professional and next like online marketing opportunity after like drop shipping, which was kind of bigger, maybe 2 years before, like obviously not the exact same, but like generally speaking, people that are in like the online space, in my experience, either run like e-com brands or drop shipping or like have an agency. I've never done an agency. I feel like agency is probably a lot better cash flow in many ways. Like I was speaking to my good mate actually, who's run a lot of my ads in the past, and like, yeah, just like the fucking cash flow and profit is just insane, especially because it's like pure profit, because you're not, well, I think it is. But so obviously you mentioned you came back from America. Like, had you planned to start firstly a business and secondly like an agency, and like where did that come from? Because obviously it happened, but it's not that obvious to a lot of people. Yeah,
good question. So I was one of those people that I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? But because I was like earning decent money for my age at the time, I had a flat in Miami, and I remember like living alone in that apartment on South Beach, 8th and Jefferson. Still remember it. And I remember like I'd go to the bookshop like every week. So there's a bookshop in Miami called Books and Books, and I can't remember what was the other branch name. But anyway, I used to go to that bookshop. I used to read books about entrepreneurship. I cancelled my Netflix subscription literally, and like I had like, you know, those
that's hardcore
Google Play things. Yeah, it was pretty. And I literally plugged it into my TV, and I'd watch like every week like Impact Theory, Ty Lopez, fucking every. I just love consuming knowledge, and because I lived alone, and like, you know, I was like recently heartbroken, I just like would just read every day. Like literally, I would like read a book a week.
Yeah,
I was like, and that's kind of what I was interested in. Then, you know, I got into the habit of gym reading. So I had like a year of like just doing all that, taking in the information. But then I realized that I was one of those people that, because I still had that like, you know, good paycheck coming in, and, you know, I was living in the States, and, you know, maybe I was a bit more obsessed with other things than, you know, building myself. Because there's a lot of distractions in Miami Beach. I'm not sure if you've been. Yeah.
In the end of Tyler's episode, actually, we got onto Miami. I was just thinking that. Yeah. A lot of distractions. There was, and, you know, I think there's two things. You can either get pulled or pushed. And I guess you could say that, you know, I was pushed. I was, you know, I remember sitting in my apartment thinking, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And at the time, the worst thing that could happen to me is that I have to move back to the UK. Yeah. And that pretty much transpired. And I remember like just like not wanting to talk to my friends. Like when it happened and the company made the announcement, I like didn't want to talk to anyone, bro. Like I put my phone on like airplane mode. Everyone was iMessaging me. People wanted to check in on me. I felt like embarrassed. I felt like ashamed. You know, my visa thing, I've got like, you know, 30 days or 20 days to leave the country. Yeah. Just that. And it's like, and then it's like, you know what, I'm going to go back to my hometown, which, you know, I thought I progressed from. And
yeah, it was a really, really, really dark time. And it was a really, you know, I'm in a foreign country, I'm all alone, I'm in this empty apartment, and like pretty much my future's just been pulled out, it feels like, anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, reading Ryan Holiday's Obstacle is the Way.
I've read that, yeah, classic.
And I said, you know, the path, I think the obstacle to impediment is the way. What stands in the way becomes the way.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that quote and doing my walk on South Point Park, and I was like, look, like, I've got two options. Like, either I can just fucking, you know, go on benders and like drink everything away, or I can like use this opportunity that, you know, if you believe in a God, that God's given me, that, you know, the universe, whatever I have now, and I can really try and aggressively grow after my dreams, because I always kind of knew corporate life wasn't for me. But, you know, I was one of those people that would always talk about it and be like, yeah, eventually I'll be an entrepreneur. Yeah, eventually I'll do something. But I wouldn't have. Yeah. You know, I'd probably still be working at that company, happy with my wage if that shit didn't transpire.
So could you have stayed in America in a different job, or was it like because of the way the visa worked or whatever?
I mean, I could have got another visa applied for, but I'd have to go back to the UK, and it would be working for the competitor, and it would just be, at the end of the day, I'd be doing something that wouldn't fulfill me again in the day to day. Yeah. So I thought, right, you know, I'm in my early 20s. I'm never going to get this chance again in my life. You know, if I'm going to start a company, it might as well be now, because, you know, when you do it in your 20s, like, there's less risk. But, you know, if you're older and you've got kids and you've got a mortgage and you've got fucking dog and whatever, it's, I'm not a dog, but, you know, you can't be as risk averse, right? Yeah, definitely. So I don't think you answered the first question.
Sorry, bro. No, it's a good tangent, but so when did you decide, like, so did you come back assuming you'd be working for the same company in the UK?
I was still working for them, but in my head, I was looking at courses, you know, I was looking at identifying the business models, and it was between drop shipping and SMMA. Yeah. And then I was like, you know, I've got the sales experience, you know, I'm in the B2B space. So I just pressed ahead with the agency, you know, and then when I was back in Bristol, I would like work the normal hours, my job. I'd probably be annoyed if I said this. But then like in the evenings and weekends, in my lunch breaks, like I was trying to like meet clients, sign them up for like retainers, do that sly thing.
So how long were you doing it alongside your job in the UK before I went full time?
Like 2 months.
So not long at all.
Yeah, I was motivated.
Yeah. And was that off the back of a course? Or were you it was like YouTube?
It was off the back of a course. Yeah. It was off the back of a course, bro. Like, I did a coaching session as well with him, man, and basically I was like, right, I know what I need to do, and I did it, and then I got the course, and then I was like, just let me go. I like it. Because I put myself in a position. I was moving back in with my mum, which, you know,
back against the wall.
I love my mother, but, you know, from having your own apartment, living in New York, Miami, going to the Hamptons every other weekend, to like, you know, you're back in your mum's room in Bristol. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that's a wake-up call.
I was like, that was my only and entire focus. Everything else, I really wasn't interested in.
Yeah. Shit. And then, who was your first client? Do you remember? And how did you get them?
My first client was actually a local grocery store. Actually, it's like a vegan shop in my area.
Oh, really?
And I remember like just telling her about ads and everything, and like she'd never run ads before.
And was this like Google ads, Facebook ads?
Facebook ads back in the day. Actually, it was social media and content as well. So I was doing social media management and content, and doing Facebook ads, and it was so freaking easy back then.
Yeah, and just like targeting businesses that knew nothing about it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Just, you know, offering. I remember like one day, bro, I just literally went to every store on like the local Bristol High Street, and I like bought like a coffee or a small meal, and I just said, hey, like, I actually really enjoyed this meal. You know, I found it really hard to find you. Do you have Instagram? Do you have Facebook? Yeah. Like, oh no, I don't really understand. I was like, well, you know, I know advertising. Let me do it for free. Like, you know, let me give you a free audit. And did that. And like, I just remember like getting appointments daily. I guess that previous sales experience where like I didn't really care about rejection. I just go, next one. That's how we were trained.
Yeah.
So that helped, and very quickly, applying it to the agency knowledge and the knowledge I got in courses, and of course the massive relentless action. That was the foundation for my agency.
And then when did you hire people at what point? Like freelancers, etc.?
Yeah, I hired media buyers, freelancers to fulfill the work, because I always knew that I wouldn't know Facebook ads super well very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I focus on sales, I can get cash flow and revenue. Then I can get the media buyers to fulfill the work.
Yeah.
And then I can hop on the calls and everything. And then, I was playing to my advantages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the foundation.
And where'd you get those media buyers? Because you probably do a whole episode talking about how to hire media buyers, crap ones, good ones. Like, where did you start with that? Was it like Upwork?
Yeah,
like
Upwork, Facebook groups as well. And then I'd find people who, maybe weren't as far along in their agency journey, but maybe knew a bit more about ads than me. And, I'd make them do some test ads. I'd just interview them, and I'm like, right, cool, you do it.
Yeah.
Pay them per client, so it didn't affect my direct cash flow.
Yeah, nice. And then when did you move out of your mum's house? What was the next move?
Yeah, I guess the next move was I went to Qatar because I have some family there. I thought I'd get some clients out there and meet some people, and did a few consulting gigs here and then. But then I came back and I was like, get focused. And then like it got to a point where I was like, I was getting the train to London, right? So first great. Actually, I was getting the coach because I couldn't afford a train.
Yeah.
So I was getting that National Express. Have you ever been on the National Express coach?
Well, actually not, to be fair.
It's and then when I was doing a little bit better, I started getting the train. And I was going to London like every other week to like meet with clients, because obviously clients in London can pay more than in Bristol, right?
True.
And they believed a lot more in online marketing at that time than the ones in Bristol. And then I was like, I need to be in London. So spoke to some friends, they had spare room. I moved to London, and then it's like when I moved to London, bro, I was like surrounded. I had like other people who are entrepreneurs. I could talk to them about stuff. It just felt like anything was possible.
And when was that exactly?
I think it was like 7 months later. No.
So like 2019. Moved to London 6 months later. And that's probably actually a very similar time to when I moved to London, like April 2019, I think it was, which was like 2.5 years ago, which is absolutely flown by.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that, because I've started getting a load of DMs off I used to get I don't really have a personal brand, but I don't at all, but still used to get a load of DMs. I think it just attracts that, like if you do anything and there's pictures of anything online, 16-year-old boys message you saying, how do you do it? But recently, since I've been back on Instagram, started getting a load of stuff again, and one of the key questions is, and actually a guy asked me, I think the other day, he was just like, I don't know what his name is, I don't actually know what he does, but clearly some guy like maybe 18, 19 years old, and he was just like, I'm feeling really stuck. Do you think I should move out of home? And I was like, well, I don't know your situation, but as a general rule of thumb, in my experience, and you'll probably agree, like living, well, first like staying in your hometown in general. I'm not saying it's because you shouldn't by default like hate where you're from, whatever. But no. I come from York. You probably had a similar experience.
Unless you live in Birmingham or some shit. I'm joking, but yeah, you shouldn't hate where you're from.
But then you should never leave. You shouldn't pollute this city with your accent. But yeah, I just think. London's the obvious one in the UK, by far, of course. But it's what I'm saying is it's not a stereotype, like it's fucking facts. I think particularly for entrepreneurs, I can't speak so much for maybe a bit more traditional route, like if you've got a grad job or whatever, because in many ways there now I think it's kind of retarded to want to live in London, because especially now your rent would be so much and you're getting paid the same, you can do it online. But e-com space, digital marketing space, just genuinely if you're actually want to be an entrepreneur, it's if I didn't move to London or initially go to an event in Singapore 4 years ago, which I credit as the first butterfly effect, it's actually mad, because what would I be doing? And some people, it's weird because you have to be self-aware to realize that you want to move, especially when you don't know anyone else in that place yet or anything.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
If you don't know anyone, bro, you're so out of your comfort zone, and it is really hard. But then also, it's like the potential costs, right? It's like the opportunity cost of you not living in. That's the thing. A lot of people you're like, I'd move to London, Adrian, but like, this, but like rent, but like this. But then I'm like, what about the opportunity cost of you missing out on opportunities, on clients, on like maybe dating an awesome person? There's so much, people don't consider like the upside loss as well of not moving.
Yeah, very true. I think that's kind of a deep point actually. I think that comes down to like, certainly in the UK, just like culture, doesn't it? Like people will point out like, it's very much a pessimistic kind of tall poppy syndrome country.
Yeah, it is. It's like, if anyone's, it's like, get back in your fucking box, mate. Who do you think you are? Like, that's what you say Bristol like. So
yeah,
it is that culture, and it's hard, and it's a lot of negativity. And whereas I feel like in other cultures, it's, in America, you're encouraged to go out and take risks, bro. Like, everyone's trying to do something on the side. Americans learn from a young age how to like invest because they have to, because the government's not going to support them later on.
Yeah, very true.
There's no, colleges are like 200K. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like no healthcare,
bro. So like, you're gonna get a fat bill. Like, if you lose your job, you lose your insurance. So like, people are like scared to go on vacations and take vacation days.
Yeah, fuck. We could do a whole episode about like the controversy of American politics, but probably get shot. So moved to London.
Yeah.
Where did you live? What was the first step? You mentioned you just got a room with a friend, or?
Yeah, I got a room with a friend in Shoreditch, kind of way. It was in Old Street. So initially that was pretty cool, and stayed there for a bit, which was cool. I really liked it, but Clerkenwell's great, but I was a little bit further away. Everyone seemed to live like over here, this sort of area. So then I moved again to just at the end of border between Battersea and Wandsworth. So I was like in the ecom zone because you guys were here. Yeah. And fucking everyone's in SW.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like our small like friends of friends circle or whatever, but yeah, I feel like maybe it's just because everyone I know lives in Southwest.
Yeah, that's it.
Like either like Kensington, Chelsea, like Fulham at a push, like Battersea, pretty much.
Yeah.
I just don't really know anyone that lives outside of that. Maybe I should get to know more people, but
because everybody was going here and everybody would meet here, and then we'd all play tennis like in Battersea Park, and then lockdown and everything. So it was just, I don't know. I thought, move to this side of town. That was great.
Yeah.
And then, we had the good old COVID.
Yeah, fuck, man. That did mess things up, to be fair. Well, like nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
I remember we went for that bicycle ride that day.
Do I remember that?
Me, you and Fred.
Oh shit, yeah. At
the start of COVID.
Remember that, and going down Sloane Street, and that was like fucking quiet. Yeah, shit, interesting. Right, just bring it back to the agency then for a second. So, client-wise, were you targeting specifically, like you mentioned, like shops on the high street and so on?
Yeah, I started off with lead gen.
Was that just easier to get?
It was easier to get, and it was easier to fulfill.
Yeah,
it was easier to get them as clients, and it was easier to fulfill. And so, that's what I started with. And it was lower ticket, and it was great for cash flow. So I did that, and I got my teeth wet into, understanding how ads work, understanding how, online. And then it got to a certain stage where I was like, shit, if I want to grow, I need to go into where I can charge more. Because if you're charging, a local restaurant $1,000, $2,000, in Bristol, that can eat into their cash flow, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like, I need to target businesses that have more money. So I slowly started transitioning into e-commerce. So when I first did it, I did a few free gigs just to get experience.
Yeah.
And then, just to get that brand on there. And then, started going after e-com companies. And initially, Bennett Winter was one of the first clients that were pretty good. They're in the new James Bond film. They're suit holders.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it was, and then once I got that one, it was like momentum, other clients, and then I helped a startup company go from 0 to pretty much 2 million ARR. And, they had a great product, but we switched them to a subscription service, a monthly one.
Yeah.
That just helped blow up. And then it just kind of like, I feel like the work of the last 2 years just compounded. And I started getting better and better and more clients. And then, I remember sitting down with Arslan in his apartment in Mayfair. And I was like, bro, I need to move to Dubai. I don't know. I just woke up and I was like, I just know I need to be there. And having lived in a sunny country in Miami, I realized how much effect the weather has on me personally.
Interesting.
And I just thought, it is a risk because I've got a good thing in London, but then I just felt myself getting comfortable, doing the same things, going out on the weekend, going to the same places, which it's not anything wrong with that, but I could feel myself just, when you can feel yourself being comfy.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I need this change. So there's after my birthday, and I said, yeah, like, me and Arslan basically on a whim decided we're going to go move to Dubai, and pretty much everybody fucking followed us.
Yeah. So when was this then? Sorry. So just before lockdown or just as lockdown started?
Before lockdown, I think we decided that we were going to go to Dubai regardless.
Yeah.
And then, we wanted to wait until it got cold in the UK, September, October to go.
Yeah.
So I think I had my birthday. And then I was like, right, we were going to move, and I was going to move. Then fucking, I got COVID. So I had to
Oh, shit.
I disappeared for 3 weeks.
So Arslan, is it Arslan?
Arslan.
Yeah. I know him from Instagram. I've never actually met him personally. So you were both living together, or just friends in London?
We were friends in London.
Both running agencies.
Yeah, both running agencies. Yeah.
Same with me and all the guys doing ecom, I guess. Similar dynamic. And then, so I was going to say, it's like, where was the agency at just before you decided you want to go to Dubai? Like, how many members of staff? Like, is it doing
I had
well?
4 people, but mainly contractors.
Yeah.
Graphic designer, 2 media buyers, an assistant helping me out on sales. So it was doing good, but it wasn't doing really well.
Yeah.
Right. It was okay, it'd have some great months, and then it had some slower months, and then it wasn't booming. It wasn't consistent, and that was because I wasn't booming. I wasn't consistent.
Yeah. And then Dubai was what, September 2020, pretty much a year ago.
October, yeah.
Bang on a year ago then.
Bang on a year.
Shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I remember you messaging me. Well, I don't know what the context was, but there was a conversation. You said we're going to Dubai. I think it might have been about a flat or something. I think it was because we said Connor was moving out.
Yeah.
Of the old flat.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he was on with a Pomeranian who we called him Goose for the past if he's watching this, I don't know where the fuck that came from, but it was fucking funny. And then you were like, yeah, we're going to Dubai. And I don't really know Dubai too well. I definitely get the appeal of sunny weather, but particularly now, I was just saying to you before we started recording, fuck.
Yeah, it's fucking horrible outside. Jesus.
Yeah, when London goes, when the UK in general, just, winter's not nice. I fucking hate winter. It goes dark at 4:30. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but yeah, I mean, I've been to Dubai 3 times maybe. Last time was in March 2020, just before COVID. And I remember being scared, thinking this COVID, is this, not being scared at the start, and then thinking, fuck, is this COVID thing actually going to kill us all, or what? It was just before kind of everything kicked off, and we came back just in time. But yeah, how's the Dubai been? What are the pros and cons, do you think? Because a bit of me sometimes thought, fuck, should I mix it up, particularly when it's winter in London, as you said, and just go to Dubai? But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Dubai, I've been before, so my family's from the Middle East partially. I always used to go there when I was younger, so I was aware of how good it was. In my old job, I used to look after the MENA region for a couple of projects. So, I would go to conferences in Dubai and do things and meet people. So I always knew that it was good, it was safe. And, having family not too far really encouraged. It kind of made it easier for me, right? And because, in the winter here, I don't really celebrate Christmas. My family's Muslim. So I was just I knew it was good. And I didn't really go in there with a negative mindset. I just thought, let's just go for it. And honestly, for me, you can see the effects. It's been great. I think, again, it's the environment thing, bro. I'm in Dubai, I'm at a dinner. That guy, has $100 million company that has petrol stations, which maybe the UK could do with.
I was going to say, fuck.
That guy has a shipping company that does 20 million a year. That guy does this, that's that. And I'm just, I'm shit, I need to raise my game. My rent's more than it was in London. Lifestyle costs more. What I want to do, everything is more. And living with Arslan as well at the beginning. You know, I saw his work, what he's doing, and I was like, shit, like, you know, it's like when you and Fred live together.
Yeah.
It just
that healthy competition.
Yeah, healthy competition, but like also it just, you know, the environment just kept pushing each other. We just wanted to grow. And, you know, I was in a position where like, shit, I really, really need to up the stakes. Like, you know, Dubai's not cheap, as you all know. And, you know, I wanted more. I wanted to do these experiences. I wanted to meet people. But, you know, Dubai, the network effect, it's just ridiculous because it is somewhere that attracts a lot of successful, wealthy people. And so, you know, you get to meet some really interesting people, some really lovely people. You can meet some not so lovely people as well.
Yeah,
but,
same with anywhere.
You know, you know, it's great, and it really helped my growth. And I fixed a lot of the things in the agencies. I got better staff, better media buyers, you know, who actually got real credible experience. And then, yeah, that's when, you know, kind of the agency took off and started rapidly growing.
Yeah, shit. So you planning on staying there long term?
Yeah.
Been there a year now.
So, you know, I'm going to be in Dubai, I think, for the next 3-4 years, definitely. I'm a little bit older, so I'm not sure if, like, settling down, that would be the place, just because, like, you know,
yeah,
it's different. Like, you know, coming from a working class family, and then I go to Dubai Mall and kids are wearing Balmain, like 3-year-old with Gucci and Balmain.
Definitely a bit of that. Do you think, like, Dubai compared to London then, obviously both like very wealthy, successful places, like which one, like, is Dubai even more of that, do you think, as like a percentage of people?
I feel like there's a higher concentration of high net worth individuals in a smaller area. So for example, my neighbor downstairs, like he owns the two floors next to us.
Yeah.
So he's literally next door, and he's got the bottom floor. He's a Singaporean Chinese billionaire, right? And he's just knocked down walls, got permits. He's building like a pool in the area, like on the actual apartment block. Yeah. Like he's got like a huge balcony the size of this apartment. You just get exposed to people like that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of it. And because it's safe, I feel like Dubai is really safe. Like if you get caught stealing in Dubai, like you're fucked. Like, so people don't mind wearing Rolexes, Richard Mille showing their wealth.
The other day, I think it was my uncle actually. I had dinner with him last week. He's like entrepreneur. I don't know where this came up. You just reminded me, because I think I think the conversation was Dubai. Something about Dubai, and I was like, ignorantly said, "Oh, is it safe?" Like, I don't know. And then he was like, "Was it him? It was someone telling me like some story of someone leaving a really expensive, losing a wallet or a watch in a nightclub, and then it being in the same place 3 hours later."
Yeah,
because people don't steal.
I mean, there's so many CCTV cameras in the country, and like if you steal, like you're gonna get fucked. Like the police do not fuck around.
Yeah.
So like people are so scared that, like, you know, everyone just obeys the law. But like it's great because, you know, if my girlfriend's like walking home at 4 a.m, I don't really worry. You can like leave your doors unlocked. Like it's that kind of safe.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I haven't really thought about it before. I suppose it's safe because people are going to lose their arm if they get caught stealing.
You make the penalties high, and it's just, you know, things like drugs and all that. You don't see that a lot in Dubai, but it's because, like, you know, they will just deport you. You know, and it's guilt by association over there. So like, you know, if you're friends with somebody or you're hanging around somebody that's doing that, you're almost as guilty as the person doing it.
Yeah.
So like they don't care. So people just culture. Like, you know, they stay away from all that shit.
Yeah, interesting. And then the weather then, because you mentioned you like feel better in the sun. I mean, I definitely agree. Like, not necessarily heat, which is why I'm not so sure about Dubai myself, but certainly sun. But does that get old though? And like, do you think it's productive? Because I read something that said, I don't know what it was. Like, I'm citing all these made up studies, I think, but like something about colder countries being like economically like more productive on like a statistical basis. But I mean, Dubai is probably an outlier. But like, is it better? Do you think it helps a lot, or?
It depends on the person. I mean, there is a side to Dubai. I mean, you got a lot of people who party, go to beach clubs and all that. So like, you know, your typical Brit who lives in like fucking Sheffield or some shit goes to Dubai, goes to the 5 Palm and like blows all his...
That's me. I've done that.
You know, yes, but then also there is a side to Dubai where it's like, you know, if you're an expat, you do work hard, and the week starts Sunday to Thursday. But then also, you know, if you're working with international companies, they're Monday to Friday. So you end up working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday's your only real day off because the week starts on Sunday.
Oh, officially?
Yeah, officially. The week starts on Sunday in Dubai.
Oh, interesting.
So it's Sunday to Thursday in the Islamic calendars.
Oh, okay.
Because the holy day is in Islam is Friday.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's, you know, and you know, when people do work, you do have to work there. You know, the life is expensive. That okay, yes, you don't have to pay tax, but you know, they say Dubai, you get taxed other ways.
Yeah, I mean, do you think if controversial question? Well, not really, but do you think if it was the same tax rate as the UK, you'd see the appeal as much?
Look, it's a big factor
because it's one thing that a lot of people talk about, and it makes a lot of sense for certain people.
It's, don't get me wrong, it's a big factor, and anybody who says who doesn't and is living in Dubai is pretty much full of shit. But like, also, I don't know, I just like the environment. I like, it feels familiar for me because my family's from around that region, right?
Yeah.
So going to Saudi Arabia as a kid in the summer, going to like Kuwait, going to Bahrain, like it felt a bit more homely for me. And it's just opportunity, right? It's a newer, it's obviously a modern country, but it's like the UK in its, you know, when Britain was building the empire, right? Everybody wanted to come, you know, everything was happening. It was on the rise. They wanted to take risks. There was easy access to credit. Things were getting built, you know, the infrastructure. There's just so much opportunity and people want to do things, right? Like, you know, it's okay. Go start that freaking business. Go do this. Go do that. Anything's possible. Like when I'm there, I genuinely feel like anything's possible. Yeah.
Do you think there's I don't know where I'm going on like a dark fucking tangent of Dubai now. And I like Dubai, but I've been there a few times. Like, I'm probably not the biggest fan of it, but I haven't lived there. I've only ever like holidayed.
He's going to be moving soon. You heard it here first.
Well, maybe. Like, have you ever seen a darker side to it? Because obviously, like, and again, this could be complete propaganda, but like you see it in the newspapers, like, you know, Dubai has all this great stuff, but then all these fucking Indian workers are getting paid 20 pence a day to make all the great things.
Yeah, you know, there is
that. It's all pushed under the rug, so to speak.
There is that, but then also, the nation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain was built on slavery.
That's a big statement.
So if you want to, if you want to go into it, if we were honest about it, you know, people, I mean, the Indian workers, there are definitely some people from India, Sri Lanka, but there's some people that don't get treated well and get taken advantage of. The vast majority of them, though, they get paid their set amount and they send their money back to, you know, international remittances. And, you know, in India, you know, they have 2 houses, they have cars, they're supporting their family, they're doing really well. And, you know, these guys all have free healthcare, you know, they all have access to all the services and they're doing a lot better life and they're actually able to support their families and people are back home. You know, the UK, when they were building empires, you know, the French, the Belgians, the modern empires, you know, they would literally slaughter Africans. They would put them on ships, chain them, rape the women. It was awful. So I don't like the, you know what I mean? The comparison. It's like, you know, of course, in any nation that's up and coming, there is a bit of that. But it's just different, right? You know, poverty in the United Kingdom is you have an iPhone. Yeah, and you can't pay your bills.
Very true.
Right? You know, that's what's going on at the moment. So it's just different perspectives. And of course, you know, if you see the press, everyone's always trying to demonize someone else. And there are negative sides.
True. Yeah, I definitely see that. That's a good answer. Because there was that, just like picking up on that then, because like, and again, this is probably like just press propaganda to an extent. So I want to get your opinion. But like there was that famous story, I think maybe 2 years ago, whatever, some English bloke that like was in a bar, and whatever, accidentally touched a prince or something like that, and then he like was locked up for like 6 months. Like, is that legit? Like, does that stuff happen, or is that just one thing that's been taken out of context and just
look? If you go out looking for trouble, you're going to get trouble. You got to remember, look, number one, it is an Islamic country, right? So, you know, whichever realm that you're in, whichever city, you have to respect the laws. And, you know, the laws in the United Arab Emirates, you know, in certain states like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, you are allowed to drink. There are bars, there are nightclubs, there are beach clubs, there are fucking yachts. Look at fucking models' Instagrams. You can do anything there.
Yeah, very true.
But, you know, if you're going to get drunk next to a mosque or like you know, shout or confront an Arab family, like, you know, or some kids, like, then, you know, looking for trouble, then yeah, like, you know, you will get arrested. Right, but that's just the law of the land. You know, in the UK, you know, people are allowed to say whatever about whoever, freedom of speech, right? And that's the laws, and you've got to respect the laws
just cultural
of where you're in.
difference.
And it's just, and it's not that one's better than the other, it's just different. And I think, you know, we need to do a better job of, I mean, for example, when I lived in the States, bro, everyone's like, oh, I wouldn't live in America. You guys fucking, there's gun crime and all this, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not safe. And then when I actually lived in America, I remember my Uber drivers were like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from the UK. I'm from Bristol. And people were like, oh, like, you're from the UK. You guys like let immigrants in and you have terrorist attacks all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't know until, number one, you don't know until you actually live and experience it. And I always implore people to get first-hand data. And number two, it's like, normally it's not as bad as you think it is, or what is said in the press, and it's in their
there's
interest.
always an angle in there, and ultimately,
And just test it out for yourself, you know what I mean? Obviously, if there's like a war going on, like, you know, if you go to North Korea, it's probably true what happens. You know what I mean? So don't.
Fuck. That, I went to South Korea like a year and a half ago. We went to the border. I think we were talking about doing the day trip over to North Korea, but I was just like, nah, I just think with my character, if we were to like, I don't know, get drunk and go to North Korea, it might not end well. It's a good like high risk concept, but
yeah,
Jesus Christ, there was a few stories about like American students going missing or something.
Yeah, very steep,
but that might be propaganda though. Like, you have to be open. I mean, I don't think it is, but not that story, not just that story, but like what we just said. You know, North Korea might be a really nice place, and the West, like the UK, America, particularly, are trying to just demonize it for whatever reason. We don't actually know. So, like, if you want to have, like, I'm not saying that is the case, fairly controversial, but yeah, you've got to be open to ideas, haven't you? And just look at everything with a pinch of salt, I suppose. That's in the news about countries and so on.
Exactly.
Because there's probably a motive somewhere.
I mean, I stopped watching the news, bro. It's just so negative.
Oh, jeez, nah. I don't watch the news.
You know, you switch it on and it's just, I mean, it's always something. It's like terrorists, then it's like COVID, then it's like fucking Syria, right? And it's just like this, they're just finding this new thing, and I'm like, I just don't need that in my life.
Yeah, it's actually so true. Fucking hell, like, you could probably speak about that for like half an hour itself, because like, I don't know if you found this, but like, I'll like see my parents, and I probably don't see them enough, but and then like, do you not watch the news or whatever? And I'm like, no, I don't watch the news. I intentionally don't watch the news. Why would I want to, like, particularly stuff about COVID, like the amount of arguments I've had with my parents, genuinely my parents and other people, but particularly them, about COVID. And it's like, there's a correlation between like fear of everything and watching the news, and people that don't watch the news and are genuinely more like optimistic about the world. And I just think, whether it's truth or propaganda, if it's making you that scared of everything, which I feel like the people that watch the news religiously they're just fucking scared of everything, then you should probably stop watching it.
You got to control your inputs, bro. Yeah. Like, you got to really look at, not just, a lot of people look at their diet for like food. You got to look at your mental diet. You know, you following like useless influencers that are like making you feel shit about yourself? Are you watching shit TV, or are you reading good books? Are you having good conversations? Are you know, doing knowledge, like learning the right knowledge, positive stuff? Obviously, mindset is a big thing in entrepreneurship, just as much as action is as well. Yeah. Like, which I think this podcast helps with a bit.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's actually, I think that is probably one of the, like, I guess, like with anything, like people fall into like one of two categories. Like, obviously, in like entrepreneurship and non-entrepreneurship, it's probably like 99-1 to draw, like, I mean, not exactly, but like a rough line. And yeah, it's a different conversation about the world. Yeah. I always find it funny, and like, I feel like people that are watching this fall into the 1% or trying to be like the 1% in terms of people that actually pursue stuff, not just like financially, but like just making their own shit and so on. And you have a conversation with someone that is a bit more normal or whatever. Just, I don't want to call him like a fucking civilian, but like,
what is it that?
Because it's no better or worse, but it's just, I used to say civilian like frivolously, but it is civilian. Fucking true in terms of like
wages.
Yeah, like normies or civilians or whatever. And
God.
And what I mean by that is it's not about making money or not. It's just a way of thinking and an outlook on life. Like, in my opinion, you could be a fucking artist that lives in an igloo, but you're not a civilian if you look at the world in a productive, like, go-getter way, I think is kind of the point. But everyone that falls into that civilian, inverted commas, category, like, they'll have the same fucking view on COVID, generally speaking. They'll have the same view on
everything. They watch
immigration, like, maybe, like money, like just everything is basically the same. And it's like, well, there's you probably have that view because it's like the herd mentality, and it comes from like ultimately like the source is like the news, everything the government puts out. And like, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but like there's a clear pattern.
Yeah, and I think people don't want to take responsibility for things, you know. I'm British. I love my country. I love what it's done for me, my family, how, you know, the UK took me and protected me, gave me everything, you know, coming from a single mother. But there is a big sense of like entitlement in this country. Yeah, it's huge. Like true. People, well, I love but it's that mentality, right? You know, we have free healthcare, which is great, and I 100% support. But it's like people want things done for them. Like, you know what I mean? I am entitled to this. I am entitled to that. When the reality in life is you are entitled to nothing. You have to go out there, earn it, make it, whatever, right? The world's a blank canvas, and you got to go out there and paint the picture or the masterpiece that you want. And it's going to be painful, and it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be peaks, there's going to be troughs, but each and everything that you do is learning. It's that hero's journey. You know, Joseph Campbell, the book?
Don't actually.
So it's in Ray Dalio's Principles.
Oh, yeah, I read that, yeah.
And it's like, you know, you got to go through that journey of like everything goes to shit, then you have a big thing, and then you got to like slay your dragon to like understand who you are, then you become a boss, and then you go through it again. There's ups, downs, ups, downs.
Yeah, fuck, there's ups and downs, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit, that's a good quote, like blank canvas. I like that.
No, mate.
I need to read more, to be fair. Like, I find it hard to... It's probably why I started the podcast, because I feel like I'm a conversationalist. I like speaking and listening to podcasts and shit, but like sitting down to read, it's not really my forte.
It's hard, and the only reason I did it, like, is because I was just like, I had nothing else to do, bro. I was like bored.
You came back to Bristol to build the empire. So, obviously we spoke about Dubai a bit. What was obviously you said like obviously good weather's one thing, like being exposed to billionaires, etc., whatever it is, and I think that's super important. Like, what was the change in your business though? So just bringing it back to the actual agency, like day to day, what changed? That obviously sounds like the last year's been really good. We've grown a lot. What was the biggest difference?
The biggest difference for me is that I had a look at the services, and you know, there were some services that were offering that weren't really playing to me or my agency's strengths. You know, we were heavily reliant on Facebook, and I could see this switch coming. I could see what was going on with Facebook. I could just see the problems that were happening. So I made a choice to consciously, double down on Google AdWords. And, you know, it just happened when all this shit with Facebook was happening. And, you know, my main concerns were getting AdWords sorted out, getting Merchant Center, getting shopping done, and then also, looking at SEO, so doing SEO for our clients, and then also, more importantly, CRO, hiring an analytics executive just to understand what the hell is going on in the conversions, right? Yeah. Because, coming from the agency world, and I think the online space, there's this people are obsessed with Facebook ads, and obviously it's great, and I love Facebook, what it's done for me, what it's done for you. But when you have AdWords, the high intent data and intent driven purchases, the analytics, when you get the UTM sorted out and the tracking, and you put it all in analytics, and you can give your customers better visibility, better data, and you can prove it to them, and you have better media buyers, and it's the details. I became more detail oriented. I was looking into everything, right? And doing that, it just helped. We worked with some clients, and we really, he's a good friend now. I'm actually staying with him in Knightsbridge.
Handy friend.
Yeah, handy friend. I would drive his Porsche, but I can't drive, so I need to learn that.
You can't drive? Fuck.
I know, mate. Madness. It's all right that I get driven.
You can't even rent a Lamborghini.
Can't even rent a Lamborghini and post it and be like, 5 palm, come meet me.
Yeah, legit.
I worked with a big client. They started off small, actually, so they weren't really making too much online revenue. They were in the medical space, and we took them from 0 to £20 million in revenue in less than a year.
What are they selling? Face masks?
No, but it is COVID related, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously it was right time, right market. Yeah, so we did that, and I just learned so much, bro. Like suddenly I went from, managing less than £1 million in ad spend to now, I've managed like 6 mil in ad spend.
Yeah.
We were pumping it in. The guy, I learned a lot because we were AdWords, we were SEO, we were analytics. I was doing Bing ads.
Bing, yeah. Shit.
I was looking at everything. I gave up because people get attached to, this is an e-commerce owner. People get attached to businesses, right? They get attached to like channels.
Yeah,
they're like, Facebook this, Facebook. Well, how the fuck do you know? Like, look at the data, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it does get some. It's good for the brand building, but is it actually good on conversions? It depends for each product, right?
Yeah.
But AdWords, shopping, SEO.
Yeah, I definitely think AdWords. Yes, I spent a lot in the past on both, but I think now because I'm about to launch a new brand in like 2 weeks, and I don't think I'm even going to touch Facebook to start with. I'm going to get AdWords and TikTok is the plan. So are you not running Facebook at all now then? Is that what you're saying?
We still do Facebook, but it's like 80% is AdWords at the moment, bro.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know what you'll have way more experience with me, but AdWords feels, it was more consistent for me when I was running it.
It's the consistency. Yeah, it's the consistency, the support, and it doesn't go Facebook and go
very,
and then
very
you don't know what's going on, but whereas AdWords, it is super consistent, right?
Yeah.
I know, and I can make great expectations with my clients. I can deliver great results. It's the customer support's excellent. It is more boring to manage and difficult though. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah, I've actually never run Google myself. Whereas I did a lot of Facebook myself in the past.
With Facebook, you can like set the campaigns every day, check in on them, optimize them, and you can kind of, manage the scale of the spend. You've got these techniques, but like it's not too much. Whereas Google, if you spend more, bro, the work goes through the roof.
Yeah.
If you're managing like 3,000 keywords in one account, it's just like, fuck. And it's not nice to sit there and do keyword analysis, reports, and do negative keywords and shit. I enjoy it now because I'm good at it, but
yeah, you're getting paid for it. Yeah, that's interesting. Have you run TikTok at all then?
We've tried TikTok a few times, but I tried Pinterest. That's been quite successful.
Yeah, I've done Pinterest in the past, and Snapchat less so. TikTok's interesting. I've not run it much myself, but just speaking to people saying it's like 10 times cheaper than Facebook. But it's obviously when you're a platform. So it's kind of pros and cons. Younger audience on average, although he's getting older. I probably spend too much time on TikTok myself, but it's interesting where Facebook's going actually, because Facebook as an app has become like at this point like MySpace, and I feel like Instagram's now going where newsfeed went 4 or 5 years ago, and TikTok is now like replacing Instagram almost. So then it's like, fuck, what's coming next?
Well, that's the thing. You gotta stay consistent, right? Like you gotta be testing new channels. You gotta be even like organic SEO. People fucking ignore it.
Yeah,
people sleep on SEO,
that 100%.
And if you spend a lot at the beginning on AdWords, SEO, you don't see the results until 4 or 5 months from now. But then once you do, bro, you don't have any ad spend.
Yeah, fuck.
So a lot of people. And I have this conversation with clients a lot where they're like, oh, Adrian, we don't do SEO, we're not going to get results immediately, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you won't. But then 5th month, 6th month, if you're generating great results and it becomes your number one channel because you've got to optimize. And obviously it depends on search volumes, etc. But if you've got it optimized right, you now have got a number one channel organic that's generating most of the revenue with 0 ad spend.
Yeah, to be fair, like I've never really, I've neglected SEO and organic in the past, but like, because my logic in my own mind, without really knowing anything about it, was, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, yes, say I get to fucking number one listing on X product, which is, might take months or whatever, but there's still going to be all the ads above that.
And then when you're doing Facebook ads as well, bro, like your visibility, that's going to organic. Somebody will see a Facebook ad and then 3 weeks later, they will buy.
But I mean, like, is there any point in focusing on organic when I could spend months getting it to the top of the organic section, but there's still ads above it? Or are you saying if it's on like the first page,
if it's on the first
it's
page,
as good as an ad?
Yeah, exactly. If it's on the first page, because a lot of people do scroll, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll skip the ads sometimes. You do have those people who skip the ads and they'll just want to go through the number one thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fuck, that's interesting. I was doing that earlier actually, because I was looking to sell my. I've got an iMac that's fucking broken, so I got a monitor. But sometimes I'll do the opposite. Like if I'm looking for a supplier for something, which I've been doing recently, working on this new brand, I'll only click on stuff that is running an ad, because then I'm like, there must be a legit business if they're running ads. Whereas the ones that are just like coming up below, it's like, well, I don't know, if they're not running ads behind it, I think they can't be that big or reputable as an organization. So it kind of works both ways. Yeah,
it works both ways. And I mean, getting the backlink sorted out, ranking number one, I mean, I think it's one of the most powerful ways. And then another thing we've done is we're heavy into YouTube ads right now. Obviously, it's easy because we're doing AdWords. But again, YouTube traffic, so cheap. And you know, YouTube, when you're running YouTube, somebody's sitting down, they're watching a video, they're engaged.
Yeah, right? Very true.
It's intent. Whereas I feel like with Instagram, people are flicking through. And yes, it's still a powerful platform, don't get me wrong. But that's the thing, I think, you know, working with bigger clients, and obviously once you get one big client, you get introduction to others. Now, you know, we're working with some crazy clients and, you know, generated probably like 27 mil the last year for our clients in revenue, which is, it looks like a big number, but it's just about managing it and, you know, growing and testing, and everything compounds, right? So maybe, Matt, when we first spoke, I was still like working hard. It just didn't, you know what I mean? But now everything's compounded and you stay consistent.
Yeah, so do you think you work more or less now than you did when you first started the agency?
I think I work more now because like employees and like the time zone difference, and it's just a lot more spend. So it's like, you know, when you're managing that much mammoth and spend and like AdWords goes down on Friday or Facebook, it's like, but I'm, you know, focusing on more of the things that like I'm good at, right? Which is cool, but yeah, it's still, I think, the same work rate. Yeah,
interesting. I have a question then, because I've worked with like, I think literally 7 different agencies, which is probably not, that's probably too high. That's not a good number.
Number 8.
Yeah, like literally probably 7 different agencies across Facebook, Google, whatever, over like the past 3.5 years maybe. The fact it was 7 obviously meant I had 6 bad experiences, but like, and it's always, and I feel like I know the drill with agencies now. So like I was actually speaking to a new agency the other day about this new brand I'm working on, like, and instantly I'm just telling them like, I'm not doing a fucking retainer. Like I've been there, done that, and I know your tactics. Like this is what I want to do. If you're interested, let's do it or not. So yeah, like what's your experience with that? Like how do you price for clients? Because I feel like a lot of people watching this probably want to start agencies, or they're just genuinely interested in how agencies work because they don't know how to run their own ads, but they're not sure if what agencies are telling you is bullshit because they haven't been through the mill yet and have bad experiences, all good ones. So what do you think works best from your end and the client's end? And like, how do you do it? Do you have a mix of different, is it just really case by case or what?
I think it's got to be case by case, right? Because each business is different, and obviously performance, when you got a performance retainer, it's great because obviously if you make more, the client makes more, you're incentivized. But then it gets to a certain phase where like a client's turning around, they're like, Adrian, I can't pay you like 100k, man. Like, you know, you're making them, they're like, Adrian, I'm not paying you like 100, because then you know what it's like with cash flow and e-com. So it depends. You got to mix it up. You got to really sit down and be honest with the client. And I'm like, okay, yes, you sign a 3 month, 6 month, but you know, what are you happy with paying each month consistently, right? So it's going to be different, and you got to review it sometimes with each client, right? Because you know how e-com is, bro. Like something fucks up in China, and then all of a sudden you're not getting inventory, or this. So it's tough. So for me, I do a mix. I can do a higher flat fee and lock it in, or we do a percentage of ad spend manage, and that works really well with Google because the more work we're fulfilling, the more etc. And it's much better that way. And then obviously you got to customize it a little bit because every business is different. You have some businesses like app businesses where there's high, there's no fixed costs. Yeah. But if you're like a pure e-commerce brand, and you've got shipment, you've got fulfillment, you've got wages, you've got, you're waiting for cash flow, payment processors to release funds. You got to work with something is consistent. And the thing is that you have to communicate with the client. You can't just, yes, we are an ads agency, but it's not just about the ads, bro. It's about fucking everything, right? We have to look at everything, the customer experience, the website speed, the time to shipping, the delivery, and I have to be involved in these conversations, and I become so involved in the client's business, and because I actually genuinely care, then you will separate yourself out, because if you're in it just to make a quick buck, or just to you'll get found out, right? It's not fun, right? It's really hard, grueling work, but it's rewarding, to be able to take a business from 0 to 20 million in a year. It's great. Another business to 2 million AR, great. It's great. You know what I mean? But it comes with sacrifice.
Yeah.
And you have to be open, you have to be honest, and you have to be willing to compromise as well in the conversations. And you got to be fair, right? And this is what I always say to clients is, I want to be fair with what it is, so there's been cases where, I could have clearly overcharged the client. Clearly they wouldn't have known the better, but I just wouldn't have slept well at night. Personally, I know some people can just fucking rinse people. I'm not one of those people, right? I undercharge them, or a client had something happen the other day with inventory. I just said, don't worry about this month's retainer. Just come back to us when you're good. And I know that's like the wrong business thing, but I think
it's the right business thing, because I've had bad experiences with agencies where they have just clearly haven't given a fuck about problems that were happening or whatever. And it's left a really bitter taste in my mouth, and then they're not getting a referral.
Exactly.
Whereas good experiences, you get referrals.
Leave everybody with a positive note, right? So, okay, yes, I give if I give a month's retainer, but then 2 months later, I get a big referral from a big client that they worked with, right?
Yeah.
And, people remember that last effect that you had on them, and as long as you work hard, you're honest, and you're fair with people, you can go far. You're going to have to make compromises and just own up to mistakes, right? I'm not out here saying, LDX Digital doesn't make any mistakes, the best. No, we make mistakes, but you got to own up to it, right?
Yeah.
And, say, hey, look, I fucked up. It's my bad. I'm not going to charge you a retainer this month. Or, hey, it's a bit mad. We're in a bit of a shit situation. Let's just pause or end the contract for you.
Yeah, because I actually this wasn't an agency, it was a freelancer, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's not watching this, but I don't think highly of him, and I'll tell the story. So, long story short, so he was just a freelancer, so it wasn't an agency. So he must have been making a ridiculous amount of cash, to be honest, which, fair play to him. At the end of the day, he was doing a good job. He was really good at Google. I'd never done Google myself, so I'd worked with him on previous brand, Midnight City. Then he spent I think 2 million quid on Neon Beach over whatever it was, a year and a bit. I then referred him loads of clients. I was probably paying him consistently, bearing in mind he had 10 plus other clients, at least 8 to 10 grand a month for at least 6+ months when it was a peak scale. And it was a percentage of spend based on ROAS, a tiered deal. So it was because I think you touched on earlier, originally it was going to be now we're at the scale we're at, I think spending I think it was 200 grand a month on Google at one point. He was going to be getting paid 25 grand just to run Google, and I was like, mate, come on, there becomes a point where, granted, it's a percentage, but I can literally hire fucking 7 in-house people for that, and get them from Apple. So it was pretty fair with that, and we tweaked it a little bit, whatever. But then when all that started going tits up, watch episode 1, and I basically told him gonna have to fucking cut the fees, whatever, etc. Like he just wasn't having any of it, because we had a contract and it was like minimum 3-month notice period, and I was like, it just felt really unreasonable, because first I'd worked with him for over 2 years at this point. I reckon my business had paid him personally 200k plus, maybe not 200k, like at least 6 figures, like personally, and he's a fucking freelancer, for God's sake. So it was crazy money. I'd referred him probably 4 people that were actively paying him at this point, all decent amounts, and he just could not give a fuck. Like I remember him just sending me like just really corporate, like, this is our contract, blah blah blah, like basically, you know, I'll take you to court if you don't pay me, like all this crap. And I'm there like, the business is getting fucked in the ass right now, like I'm trying to be like reasonable here, like I'm not saying like sack it off, and he just wasn't having any of it. So, and yeah, to this day, like there was never an amicable resolution. I think it went to court in the end, and I think it's still pending actually, but I haven't heard from him. And yeah, but the thing is, like, I just think that was a really bad way to handle things from his end. And I then told all my friends that I'd referred to him, like, you know, sack him off. Like,
that's what happens,
make
bro.
a fool of him, sack him off. And a lot of them, I think, did.
Yeah, they did, of course.
Or if they didn't straight away, they suddenly thought, oh Christ, you know, this guy's a nut, right? I don't want that to happen to me.
I don't want him involved in my business.
I just thought it was a really bad way of doing things. And he just, because obviously, yeah, there's a line between like personal relationships and business or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's people transacting.
It's humans.
Like everything on a screen or whatever, it's at the end of the day, it's 2 people or a group of people trading, like fucking giving one thing, getting another back. And I'd been really good to him, I thought, over the year or 2 we'd worked together, and he just couldn't give a fuck. And to this day, it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth.
Exactly. And you know, I think that's the case a lot with agencies, is they don't have that human touch. It is still a business, you know, and you know, people remember the effect that you had on them. People remember, you know, your brand, how your business feels, you know, what you've done for them, the effect, that feeling, and you know, doing the right thing when no one's looking, right? Like I've had periods, you know, in my business where I couldn't afford to like not let him pay that retainer, but like I was like, you know what, if I was in that position, I'd do the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'd like the same thing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm getting this huge deal for X amount because that person I left a good time. And we all talk, bro, as well. So like, I think I remember there was a guy who did like admin work. He like pitched me, and I think he worked with you and Tyler.
Yeah, I'm not going to say his name. I know he is.
And you know, the first thing I did need help. And the first thing I did is message you. I think you were busy. Then Tyler, I asked him, I was like, can you vouch for him? Is he good?
Yeah.
And then Tyler said, yeah, like I can vouch for him. And then I was like, cool, sign him up.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, fuck. It's funny because my mate's agency, who I worked with previously, I like jokingly, I've probably said it a few times to him now. I've like referred him so many people, did him a fucking really good video testimonial. And I was like, come on, like, well, he's probably fucking watching this, but do you think in that scenario, if you're getting loads of referrals from the same person, you should be giving them a cut? Is there a point where, maybe not a cut, but like X amount, just, you know, fucking here's $2,000 or whatever, because is that fair? Yeah,
you've got to incentivize people. Any one of my clients that refers people, I either give them discount of their next month's retainer, or I give them extra services, or I just give them a referral fee. And you just got to incentivize people in the right way. And you know, that's how business, that's the fundamentals of business. But before we even had like laptops and fucking this and that and Wi-Fi money, you know, we were like caveman. True. You know, somebody would do you something and then you give them a cut and then somebody would help you. It's like when we were caveman, if I went out and hunted food and then I got it here, and then like you didn't have food, I'd give you the food, but then next time you went out and hunted food, you'd remember that I give you food and you give me food, and then it's like the network effect.
That's so true.
You know, it's built in our DNA to be like that.
This could be a whole lot of discussion, but I do feel like because of like the whole Wi-Fi money thing, and like obviously it's true, but like everything's so accessible now, and people were wanting to start businesses online almost so they can like avoid speaking to real people. And I was definitely probably guilty of this, and still am maybe to an extent, because like my experience of I'd never had like a corporate job previously. Obviously you did. And it's weird because like there's so much opportunity now online. Like you can literally start a business at like 18 or even younger, like on your fucking laptop. But at the same time, like, everything's so accessible to the point where people forget that, like you just said, it's just people if you take away like the laptops
human beings,
and shit.
Yeah. There's a human being at the end of the screen. I know people in Dubai who've legit made like 5-6 million by not talking to people, just doing crypto. And like they don't leave their apartment and shit, and they're just happy doing that.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, obviously that works for some people. Yeah. But yeah, I think the problem is, I was definitely worse at it before, but like, you know, you say you get into like drop shipping, like I did back in the day. Like you make all this money online, but then it's like
you buy a ClickFunnels shirt.
Yeah, exactly. But then you want to like fucking grow it into like a more legit operation. You got like hire people, and I wasn't bad at that. Like speaking to people, I think I've always been decent at that. But like some people, yeah, it's just weird. I think it's going to become more and more of a problem for the next generation, because people are growing up only online. Particularly because of COVID, it's got even more exasperated. And people forget that like all this social media, like all this online business and everything's moving online to an extent. It's still just people with technology between them. Literally. It's not technology without people. Do you know what I mean?
You're managing people online. You know, they're still a human being. And to that, you know, point, my business didn't like blow up until I hired awesome people, and I had to accept that, you know, I'm not going to take all these personal profits. I'm going to like, you know, make sure that I hire good people and pay them. And there was a point where actually some of the people were earning more than me.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people wouldn't do that because of ego, whatever. But like, it was a short-term pain for a long-term gain, because then, you know, they felt good and they helped bring on even more business. And you don't want to be the smartest person in your business if you really want to scale it, right? You want to have better people around you.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, hiring's fucking hard.
Oh, bro, don't even get me started.
I've got some nightmare stories about that from like the past year in particular, but it's probably not the right time to speak about them. There's one in particular that's in my mind. I want to just talk some shit about this person, but yeah, anyway, this person blocked me on LinkedIn after I got rid of them, and like, yeah, they burnt a lot of bridges. Mature. Yeah, they burnt a lot of bridges, and I just still pisses me off a bit, to be honest, but I'm not going to speak about it on this podcast more than that. But yeah, hiring's fucking hard. Like, I have not figured that out.
The thing with hiring is, like, you can read all the management books, you can do all the courses, and, you know, and in my old job, I was like managing people, and that helped a lot. But like, until you get someone through the freaking door, you are not going to know. Like, I've seen people who've interviewed so good, spoke so well, and they just weren't producing good work. Yeah. And then I've seen other people, bro, like I've literally judged them. I'm like, this guy's dressed like shit. Like, you know, honestly, he's got a haircut from the 1950s. And then like, he just smashes it. He's like a workaholic, and he's detailed and process. And I mean, I think I was with Tyler and Fred the other day, and I was like, guys, I'm having fucking staff problems hiring. But they're like, literally, Adrian, we're all having the same thing. Yeah,
it's fucking stressful. Because like, yeah. Jeez, I had some nightmares like in recent months with that, but like with anything, you learn from it, innit? Because I think as well, when you're getting started, like agency, e-com, whatever, like you can do a lot yourself. You can like leverage, obviously by definition, leverage the fucking internet, and like, you know, you're not trading your time for money, and you can also like automations and stuff. I reckon you can do like a few million a year.
Oh yeah,
like by yourself, basically, particularly 100%. In e-com. Maybe not as much with like fees with agency, I don't know, but like the same premise. So you can definitely scale like ridiculously by yourself, but then it becomes a point where you got to fucking hire people, and it's very, very, very hard. And I'm pretty inexperienced with that, to be honest. Like, I've hired a lot of like freelancers and more like casual roles, but like when it comes to like trying to hire like this person I was talking about was an in-house media buyer, which is why it was an even bigger nightmare.
That is.
And yeah, anyway, I won't get too into that, but it's hard hiring for like roles that are like really important. And obviously everything's important, but like say it's like just, you know, customer service agents, like slightly less critical, like you can step in easier, like, you know, you can change it easier. But yeah, this was after I'd worked with like 7 different agencies. I suddenly thought, fuck, I'm going to go in-house media buyer, employee, wouldn't do it again. But again, you live and learn.
Yeah, you live and learn. I think that media buyer role is the hardest thing. I've spoken to other people and managed that it's just, that is one of the hardest things to hire. And then when you do have a good one, keeping them happy,
They
keeping
start
them
their own
engaged, or
agency.
they want to start their own agent.
Yeah,
Like, that's
or their
the
own
thing.
brand.
So thing is though, bro, things on social media looks easy. You know, you look at my Instagram, you look at your Instagram, you're like, oh yeah, fucking this guy smashed it. What they don't see is like the fucking hours of shit and people and
Yeah, of course.
things not working and like hiring issues or like fucking Google going down or shit like that we have to do. The reality of it.
Or the entirety of social media going
And
down.
then entirely social media coming down, and then like
I don't know if it'll be back. We've been recording for an hour and a half. It went down like 4 hours ago.
I had a guy call me and say, Adrian, it's down. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Call Mark Zuckerberg and be like, yo, listen to me. Like, fucking.
Yeah, I saw that the Facebook domain was for sale. So I don't know what's going on there. Like people are saying, we were saying on Twitter earlier, that this is like the biggest outage ever. Yeah. So this could be the next COVID. Like maybe the government's planned this. I don't know. maybe social media is gone for the next 2 years now. Can you imagine? That would fuck up everyone. But yeah, no.
There's no point in getting a Lambo then, right?
Yeah, shit. Exactly. That's probably an interesting debate. Like how many people would actually do that if they couldn't put it on social media?
Yeah, it's a weird...
You need to learn how to drive first.
I know, I need to learn how to drive. I think we should do a podcast of maybe like, carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
Like go home and drive.
Learn how to drive in Tyler's Lambo.
In Tyler's Lambo, yeah. I should do that.
You might have to get like some special insurance.
Can you imagine? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I thought you should do that.
Good clickbait for everybody to watch, innit?
Yeah, definitely. Right, to wrap things up then, because this is episode 5, but I've started asking a similar question at the end. Like, where are you going with, is it LDX?
LDX digital,
okay, good, I've done my research. What's the plan? What's the vision for this? Like, how long do you see yourself doing it? Is there like a grand vision, or is it really just playing it by ear at the minute? Like,
yeah, so for the goal for LDX is I really want to grow it in the MENA region. I feel like that Middle East, North Africa region, it's ripe for growth. We're working with Arabic clients now. We've got Arabic media buyers. We have our new Arabic website coming out. And I really want to build and grow that. And I want it to become a force in that Middle East region.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously that could lead to an exit. It could lead to other things. That's the focus mainly. And I don't think this will be like my only business. I will transition into other businesses. But I feel like there's a lot that I can learn, and I can use other things that I've learned to transition into another business, which will most likely be like a fund or, something along that lines. And I want to be working in the Middle East in some capacity, on different. And just being in Dubai has exposed me to like physical businesses, right? Once you've built that cash flow, it's like you can really make money doing anything, right? But it's just, I don't know, like, people watch YouTube and they're like, oh yeah, I've got to wear a fucking Aura ring and like, do this.
Yeah, it's so true. I think, like physical businesses, I feel like our generation, it's probably forgotten that they exist. Like, you can actually start a restaurant. It doesn't have to be like an SMA agency or an e-com brand.
Yeah, you can start a restaurant, you can start that, but that's the thing is I feel like, I think the world wants original ideas and there's just not enough people with original. It's the same problem. Like one person does something. It's like when people say, I help X do Y, the Sam Evans thing. Yeah. And then everyone fucking does it. But then it's like, well, if everyone does that.
Yeah. Like, what is it? Sam Evans says, I help X make wildly profitable. That's what everyone fucking uses on their landing pages. Wildly profitable without doing X.
And then they have like the same profile picture and then they like wear the same clothes and they buy an Aura ring and then like, they post the same motivational quotes and I'm just like, what are you doing?
It's so true actually, fuck. That's funny. You can speak about that for a whole episode.
And they have like the same messages that they message everybody.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so focusing, I probably shouldn't go on a tangent now, but are all your clients now is it the MENA region?
A good majority of them are in the MENA region.
Yeah.
So like I'd say 30% and I think 70% are like UK, US, UK
and you
being
want to bring it to like 100% eventually?
I want to.
Yeah, shit. That's very true. Like, I wouldn't even think about that, like North Africa and stuff, because like I think I was reading about like Stripe acquired some like African payment processor like a few months ago or whatever, and it's just like, you kind of forget that there are markets like that are only going to grow. Like,
and
India and Africa.
India and Africa are like China 10, 20 years ago, high growth potential, so like, and I've met a few people that, in Dubai and a few close friends that, they got into these markets at the right time and, there's no competition. It's blue ocean territory.
Yeah, literally. They
can really dominate. Obviously, it's hard with regulation and there's more barriers to access and you're going to have to put more capital up front. But then once you do, having worked with a client that pretty much had no competition, I saw firsthand, I've seen the potential of what that can do. And, working in a market, and obviously if you're a blue ocean strategy, which probably most of you watch this will, you want to be working in markets where you can win, like Naval Ravikant says, have specific knowledge, right? Specific skills and skill stacking. So, that's kind of my aim. And I don't know, life's a journey. I've been, New York, Miami, Middle East, back to London and Dubai. I don't know what the future holds, but, let's see.
He's full of good quotes.
I know, yeah.
You got a good voice for a podcast as well.
I know, yeah. Got a face for radio.
I was going to say got a face for radio, but it's not that bad. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm excited to see it. I've definitely learnt a lot in this episode. And I feel like we'll probably wrap it up there.
Nice.
I've learnt a lot. I hope the viewers have. I feel like this one thing I've started saying at the end of every episode now, which I'm going to keep saying, is like, comment, subscribe. But I guess just listen to it wherever the fuck you want to listen to it, whether that's Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. And yeah, this is episode 5. We'll get to episode 50 and see if I'm consistent with this. But every week, there's a shitload of guests actually lined up, to be fair. I'm just enjoying the process of forcing myself to sit down and have conversations. It's like, yeah, people can't say no to coming on a podcast, whereas most people would say, like, fuck off if you just said, come and sit in my flat and speak to me about what you know about for like an hour and a half.
Play FIFA.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, hope you enjoyed episode 5 and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers for watching. Peace.
See you guys.